Class is in session, hitting the books. College basketball show for the first time this season. We are here with you on a Monday as we expand to 5 days a week with the college basketball hitting the books show here in the month of March. We'll be with you Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific for the rest of the month as we take you through one of the most exciting months of the year. College basketball conference tournaments starting already underway with the Atlantic Sun, which we'll get into on this show. And of course, we got a bunch of the smaller mid-major conferences with their conference tournaments later this week. Next week, the big boys start their conference tournaments after the regular season ends. So we will be here 5 days a week with the Hitting the Books show moving forward the rest of the month right until the end of the NCAA tournament. So excited about that. Connor Mackey and Cameron, as always. CMAC, good to be on now 5 days a week. And this is that month. It's now or never. It's time to make some money, my friend, in college basketball.
It is. You gave the thing. It's now or never. Who sings that? Is that Elvis?
Presley.
Of
That's
course,
the
yeah.
king.
Well,
Yeah.
I should know, but yeah, I'm a big music guy, so I thought it, but I had to double
It's
check. And
now or
now or never.
never. There you go. I got to get my Elvis voice going.
Ding, 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 ding. I'm not a good singer. I'll leave that to you.
Okay.
I know you're there.
I don't know if I'm much better, but anyway, that it is what it is. What we are better at is trying to pick games.
Yes.
That's what we'll try to do here. Let's get into it. We got 4 games on the main board that we'll talk about, and then we'll get into the 4 quarterfinal games in the Atlantic Sun tournament, and then anything else we like, we'll mention it. We'll start with Wake Forest and Duke. Duke 19.5-point home favorites, 145 the total in this game. Duke just is a machine. We saw them just absolutely dismantle Florida State, obviously, on Saturday and pick them apart. They just keep on rolling, playing an outstanding basketball. Their defense has been really good, too. Not enough people talk about how well this team has played lately at the defensive end of the court as well. That being said, I mean, for Duke, they got their regular season finale, as it always is, with North Carolina in Chapel Hill coming up on Saturday. It's a huge number. Wake Forest is a halfway decent team. And we've seen them at times on the road cover point spreads. And this kind of reminds me of when one of the few times where I faded Duke and it went well and successfully was the last time they played a game before they faced North Carolina, when they faced NC State at home. And then, of course, they got North Carolina at home right after that. And in that NC State game, Duke just did enough to get by. They won by 10, but that was a pretty close game, pretty competitive game most of the way. Duke's a bit banged up, too. There's a couple of their starters in the starting 5 that I think they're going to play, but they're definitely nursing some injuries. So does that mean John Shire is a little bit careful here with minutes for some of his top guys? You know, that remains to be seen tonight. I'm doing it. I know I've been hit or miss and more miss than hit fading Duke, but I'm doing it. I'm going to take Wake Forest here, plus 19.5, plus 20. It's a huge game for them. They need some. They need to go on a run if they're going to even consider themselves tournament bound. Probably in the ACC tournament too, but it has to start with a competitive showing. If not, I don't know if they'll upset Duke. They probably won't. They're just not good enough, in my opinion, Wake, to probably beat Duke. But stay inside a number of this magnitude with Duke playing North Carolina on deck, I could see that happening. So I'm going to take a shot here. Demon Deacons with all these points. CMAC, Wake Forest, Duke.
Yeah, I think they could maybe hang with the number. I just don't want my money really on either. Duke's been very, very good. This could be one where they just win by 12 or something like that. And Proctor, I mean, he's missed the last couple. It looks like he's going to play. I just haven't heard anything really that he's in or out. Have you?
No, I have not. Nothing confirmed, but probably won't know until right before.
I mean, I heard this was the game after missing the last couple that he was good to go to. It's just crazy. Like Duke, you know, we mentioned the thing last week, the only team top 5 both offensive defense efficiency, and I just keep being surprised that this throughout the year that's been, you know, their strength. And now they're scoring 100 points. You know, I know the bad teams here, Miami, Florida State, Illinois, but man, I think that's like 4 or 5 they put up right around 100 or right there, 97 against Miami. I'm off here. I get why you're on the points. I had that NC State. I feel good about that. I don't know if I did one more after that. I have just freight train here. I don't want to get in front of covering numbers. It seems just kind of a sleepy game here at home, and they're so great there too.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. A little bit of a go through the motion spot for Duke, because it's probably going to take that for Wake Forest to.
Wake's got to shoot the ball okay. I mean,
that's what I'm concerned about. Their offense.
That meeting 2-3 weeks ago at Duke on Saturday, it was Wake's kind of defense. Duke didn't shoot the ball well. They hung in there. They had a pretty good second half until about the last 6-7 minutes.
Yeah,
but they still covered. I mean, can they do that? And you know what's gone on with Wake? Their defense has kind of gone to shit. You know, their games have gone over a bunch lately too.
They have, and that's why the total is starting to go up a bit. It's up to 146 now, so it looks like there is some money now coming in on the over. We'll see if it does go up and over the total tonight there. Wichita State and North Texas. North Texas, 7-point home favorites, 128 the total in this game. Wichita State's had a late season resurgence here. Like the way they've played down the stretch, they've been finally shooting better offensively. God, they couldn't make a basket to save their lives earlier in conference play, but they've been a little bit better at the offensive end. The defense has picked up. North Texas is as good as it gets defensively, and obviously they're a really good team at that end of the floor. And that's going to be the tricky part. Wichita State on the road making enough shots, but I like what we've seen from this team. I think it's a low-scoring, rock fight, low possession kind of game, and I think Wichita State's played well enough that I'm interested in getting the Shockers here at +7 or better. So I'm on Wichita here, getting the points in this one. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, when I look at this, it's just under or nothing. I know this is low, but the first matchup I think was 58, 55. Let's get one thing, North Texas, and why I guess a few more of their games have gone over this year. Nothing crazy. I think we're right around 500 or 11 and 12, 11 and 13. They're more efficient. They've been pretty good offensively, but man, they got some shooters. They've been decent from three, so that's worked out for them. But I think this is an under type game. I lean Wichita. I couldn't back them though, even though they've been playing better basketball. It just seems like they're kind of like the dog of the day a little bit here. Road dog of the day, and I'm off.
All right, nothing wrong with that. All right, we move along to UCLA Northwestern, the lone Big Ten matchup here on this Monday night. We've got UCLA 3.5-point road favorites, 131.5 the total in this game. I mean, there's a lot of coaches that deserve praise this year, no doubt, that have done a great job. But I will say this about Chris Collins. To have this team competing like he has, he's done a nice job. They've had a lot of injuries. They've had obviously a roster that's been kind of decimated throughout the course of the season. But UCLA, or Northwestern rather, they've managed to still hold their own. A great win for them against Iowa on their home floor in their last game. We'll see if they can continue that along. I mean, they've just hung in there despite, being a little bit shorthanded and depleted the way they've been. I don't know if I'd want to trust them here, though. You got UCLA off the road loss at Purdue. Now they end this road swing tonight at Northwestern before they head back home for the battle against USC. They'll be looking to bounce back from that. They've been a good bounce back team. You remember they lost at Illinois. They went on the road and they beat Indiana after that. They lost to Minnesota. They bounced back, won and covered against Ohio State. They've been a good bounce back team. And the one thing you have to say about Northwestern is 2 of the 3 victories, Minnesota, Iowa. You can make a case not 2 of the better teams in the conference. It's a good bounce back spot for UCLA. I would have wanted this closer to a pick 'em, but I think at 3.5, I still lean UCLA. I do think they get the job done here. C-Mac, what do you think?
I can't bet this game here. This one, this is the spot here with Northwestern that I wanted to take them here in a dog roll at home. Is this enough? They've kind of beat up on the bad teams. They took care of business at least lately, where they had that horrible stretch. They had to deal with some injuries. UCLA's off the loss. To Purdue, of course. I just think they're better a little bit all around defensively, on the glass in this game. But they got to win by 4. So I'm off here. I'm gonna stay off.
All right, next up, we've got Kansas, Houston in the Big 12. Houston, 9.5-point home favorites, 132 the total. Now, Kansas has been killed on the road repeatedly, and especially against the better teams, aside from obviously the win at Colorado. But Colorado's the worst team in the Big 12. But so that's the concern here playing Houston. But Houston was laying a big number against Cincinnati. They failed to cover. Cincinnati kept that within single digits. and it's that angle, and which says to bet Kansas in this spot. The angle is a team that loses the first meeting at home, and they lost a heartbreaker. They had Houston dead to rights at Fog Allen earlier this year. Should have won that game. Never should have went to overtime. They pissed it away in the last minute or two. Houston tied it, and then once it got to overtime, you knew Houston was going to win. And in that first meeting, they did at Fog Allen. But the angle says you got to bet Kansas here in revenge on the road as an underdog, catching points. I just don't know if I trust Kansas enough. All that being said, the angle's been strong, and it says take the Jayhawks here, but it's not easy to bet Kansas on the road against the better teams. And obviously, you're talking about a great team here in Houston. That's the one thing I would be careful of here in this one. C-Mac, what do you think here, Kansas, Houston?
Yeah, and everything's falling apart for them really on the road. I mean, I know they beat Colorado. They beat the bad teams, but any team that's been decent, at least the second half, especially conference play, they've gotten their ass kicked. They got to remember that game, though, in which that game had just they were red hot scoring, in that game. What do we get in this one? I think it's more of a lower scoring game. Of course, with Kansas on the road, I think it'll be tough for them to make baskets against this Houston team that's just great defensively on both sides of the glass, too, especially offensive boards. They're very, very good. I don't know. Both these teams are deep. I think Houston wins here. Now, it's just crazy to see Kansas. There's 10s out here now, too. It's 10-point dogs. I thought that weird shit, Bill Self, that thing he put out was just so fucking weird. Like after just a game they lost, like that statement, it's just strange shit. Everything just seems off with that program a little bit. But they have the athletes, I think, of course, and could be in this game. So just a tough one for me. This is definitely a watch, maybe a live betting opportunity here for me in this game.
Yeah, that's never the worst option in the world. Maybe if you don't like anything pregame, just wait, see if a live opportunity becomes available. All right, there's some good games there. And Kansas Houston should be fun to watch. Obviously, this is two pretty good. Well, Kansas is falling apart a little bit, but still, they're above average Big 12 team. Houston's great, but I'm looking forward to the conference tournament action that we're going to see this week, next week, especially these mid-major, smaller conferences. And tonight, it's the quarterfinal round of the Atlantic Sun Tournament, which actually got underway last night with two first-round games. And one of those quarterfinal games is Eastern Kentucky taking on Jacksonville. We've got Jacksonville 2.5-point favorites, 142.5 the total in this game. This is the home team is Jacksonville here in this game. Jacksonville, one of the better defensive teams in this conference. They want to slow the game down, try to make you execute in the half court, and Eastern Kentucky is going to try to push in transition. And this is that classic clash of styles, clash of pace wars, if you will, between these two teams. I think when I look at this roster, I see a very talented EKU team that came up just short the last time they took on Jacksonville. I know Jacksonville took both meetings, but Eastern Kentucky played them tough. Eastern Kentucky played their best basketball February and onward, as opposed to before that. I like getting the 2.5 here with the Colonels. I think Eastern Kentucky, this is going to be another close game. I could see it being a one-possession game, and that's what the value is of getting the 2.5. If it's a 1-point or a 2-point win for Jacksonville, which I could see, but I think they got a chance to win this game outright. I really like this talent on this team. Eastern Kentucky has been a team that's made a run in this tournament before. I like Eastern Kentucky here getting the 2.5. CMAC, Atlantic Sun quarterfinal number 1. What do you like here?
Yeah, they've been playing pretty good basketball. Even after they ripped off 7 wins, they dropped a couple here, Jacksonville. Then they just beat North, I think, Florida in their last game. I still think Jacksonville's the better team here at home. Can they beat them? Can they beat them twice? That's a big question. And when they match up too, Jacksonville has the better defense, flat out. You talked about the pace wars; they're slower. East Kentucky a little bit quicker. And Jacksonville, this is the team too. Like, even though they're better at home, 2.5, 3 we see in these games in this time of year in March. They're just a bad free throw team. So look out. I don't blame you for taking Eastern Kentucky. You're on that, right? You're on Eastern Kentucky? Yeah. Yeah, I just think in the end Jacksonville's a little bit better, but man, this game should be pretty good.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking forward to that one for sure. I'm looking forward to all the Atlantic Sun quarterfinals. The next one is Austin P, the Governors, taking on the North Alabama Lions. And if you haven't watched North Alabama this year, prepare to be impressed. This is a damn good team. And they've been a damn good team this year. They're one of those teams that if North Alabama wins this ASUN tournament, they could be dangerous in the first weekend of the NCAA tournament against somebody. That's how good they've been. 145 the total. North Alabama laying 12 here in this game. I like North Alabama. I actually took a few futures in this tournament. One of them was North Alabama to upset the favorite Lipscomb. North Alabama was plus 220 to win this tournament. I also took some deeper shots with Gulf Coast and with Eastern Kentucky in this tournament. But this particular matchup, with them laying 12, there is some context to keep in mind. These teams hate each other. There's been some bad blood with these teams. If you look back in their previous meetings, there was a bit of a couple of scuffles in the last game. They refused to shake hands with one another at the end of the last head-to-head meeting. This is definitely a rivalry, and there's not a lot of love between these two teams. And Austin P comes in after a thoroughly impressive. They were down early against North Florida, and then they just beat the living shit out of North Florida in the second half last night in that first round game. So 90-69, they ended up winning going away. This is a Governors team that I think from a talent perspective kind of underachieved, and it could be one of those teams that now with the conference tournament here, it's a team maybe better equipped to play to that potential. I like North Alabama. I don't think North Alabama's losing this game. I think they're just the better team. They're going to win.
Yeah, well, they cover.
But boy, 12 points in what's a heated rivalry, and Austin P starting to cover as dogs down the stretch. I had to take Austin P on the points here. And I love North Alabama. And I've laid points a lot with North Alabama, but we're talking 12 now with a rival opponent. And, of course, the pressure, too. There's pressure on North Alabama. They know they're one of the teams that's expected to maybe win this conference tournament. You know, sometimes that first game you're a little shaky. There's butterflies, and you're not at your best. I think this is one of those games where North Alabama's talent rises to the top, and they win this game. But I think they get a fight, and they get a battle from Austin P. So I'm on the plus 12 with Austin P. I like this over, too. North Alabama's been shooting the ball well. Austin P will push in transition. Their offense obviously lit up North Florida. I think 140s is a little bit light for this total in the mid 140s here. C-Mac, what do you think here in this quarterfinal? Austin P, North Alabama.
Yeah, on the total real quick, I looked at this. I kind of lean that way, right around this 145.5. Definitely was a lean to the over. There's a few of these tonight. I moved on a couple as well. Yeah, this does seem just like kind of just too many points maybe in this game. Austin P finally the struggles were pretty bad with him. They were kind of team you didn't want to bet on for a long time. They've been a little bit better down the stretch. But this North Alabama team where they can succeed is down low, where Austin P's been awful. Should have easy baskets. And they got scorers. The team, Ortiz, Fields, Lane, probably their top scorer. I think he averages 18 or 19, has been great all year. So it won't be easy. I think North Alabama wins, but do they cover here? I'm not so sure. It's nothing I'm on, but I lean over.
All right, lean to the over here in this one for C-Mac. All right, our third Atlantic Sun quarterfinal. Queens and Florida Gulf Coast. Dunk City, if you remember, back in the day when Andy Enfield took them to the NCAA tournament. That's a long time ago. It feels like it now when they beat Georgetown and went on that run. We've got Florida Gulf Coast, FGCU, 5-point home favorites. The total in this game currently in the 146 range. Yeah, 145.5 actually is what we'll call it here as far as the total is concerned in this one. So I think Florida Gulf Coast probably wins and advances. Not sure I want to lay 5. And keep in mind, Queens is ineligible for the NCAA tournament. If they win this Atlantic Sun tournament, they don't get in. They're actually ineligible this year to make the NCAA tournament. So they're here this is their NCAA tournament for Queens. Just trying to play spoiler here. And we've seen teams do this. In fact, I remember a couple of teams in the past that were ineligible for their conference to go to the NCAA tournament, and they still won their conference tournament. So keep that in mind. Sometimes these teams play loose, they play inspired, because look, we can't get to the NCAA tournament, but we can damn sure keep this team out of making the NCAA tournament if we beat them. So just because Queens cannot make it into the NCAA tournament, don't expect them to roll over. And this is a team I've backed a few times this year. So this is a tough game, I'll admit. I think Florida Gulf Coast is playing really well down the stretch. I think they do have a bit of the talent advantage, the size advantage. They played solid defense, probably better than Queens. Queens is another team that wants to push pace, get out in transition, and set up before the defense forces them into the half court. But Queens has been plucky at times, and I don't think Queens is rolling over, even though if they win this conference tournament somehow, they wouldn't make the tournament because they're ineligible. So it's one of those deals where I think Florida Gulf Coast advancing, but I don't feel quite comfortable laying 5 with them here. This is another one I lean to the over with a little bit. If Queens can get their pace of play, 145 is a bit low because Queens will try to get out and run. C-Mac, what do you think?
Well, I am on the over in this game. I don't think we see it. This is big with these two teams. Urbano is the 3-ball. They both shoot it pretty good. They shoot a decent amount of them, right around 35%. In that first game, it was just horrendous. It was just, and there's been a couple of those, you'll see with these teams, even with Queens during the year. But for the most part, just the pace of play is too quick here. 145.5. This is an over for me. I think both these teams definitely do enough to get this over. And I kind of lean Queens as well. I like this over better, but I think they could maybe hang around in this game too. Two teams that I think match up a little bit similar, and it could be tight.
All right, our last quarterfinal in the Atlantic Sun. We've got the Central Arkansas Bears taking on the Lipscomb Bison. Lipscomb, the number 1 seed here in the A-Sun tournament coming into it, and minus 160 favorites they were on the futures board to win this conference tournament before it got underway last night. And they are laying 19.5 points here in this quarterfinal matchup, 141.5 the total in this game. Just a few too many points, in my opinion, for Lipscomb here. Because if you look at series history, and it's definitely something you should always look at when you're talking about teams playing each other for the third time after 2 regular season games, we've seen 2 meetings this year, Central Arkansas, Lipscomb. Central Arkansas lost both of them. Lipscomb won by double digits, both of them. But the first one was a 13-point win. The second one was an 18-point win. You're talking about getting 19.5 here with Central Arkansas, coming off a 77-72 win at Stetson. Central Arkansas team that you look back at their recent games, they've covered as a dog in 3 of their last 5 games. Like I said, they haven't lost by more than this margin in the 2 regular season meetings. Have they struggled at times offensively? Yes. There's no question. They have been held in the 50s and 60s by Lipscomb. Lipscomb, meanwhile, you look at their recent track record as double-digit favorites, and 2 of them they failed to cover. In fact, they were laying 19.5 this same point spread the last time they played Central Arkansas here at home just a week ago. And it was an 18-point win. So for a conference tournament type of game, where pressure obviously ratchets up, and there's pressure on Lipscomb. They're the number 1 seed. They're expected to win this game. They're expected to roll. I'm not necessarily convinced they do roll here in this very first game out of the chute, especially when you factor in Central Arkansas, maybe in a little bit more rhythm, getting a tournament game under their belt with the win against Stetson last night, back-to-back, but I don't think fatigue sets in these situations in conference tournaments until you start playing third game in 3 days or fourth game in 4 days, that kind of thing. That's when maybe you start to feel it a little bit as far as fatigue setting in. I don't think it'll happen here. And like I said, I think Lipscomb wins this game. More than likely, they'll win it and win it comfortably, but we're talking 20 points in a conference tournament game. It would take something very, very severe for me to want to endorse a favorite in a conference tournament game laying a number like this, close to 20. And I think Central Arkansas has stayed inside this point spread twice this year with Lipscomb, and I think they can do it again here. C-Mac, what do you think here? Central Arkansas, Lipscomb.
Yeah, in those 2 games, for these two teams. Well, Lipscomb's just been a lot better to the under. Their defense has been well, especially in conference play. That's led to unders. But Central Arkansas, more over team. But both those games went under pretty comfortable, and this is down a little bit. I think if they shoot it well, this could go over. That all depends here. Can Central Arkansas do a little bit where they've just been horrible on the road, all year long, 1-15. They just haven't been good. They've been, they've covered a few of those. But yeah, it's just been a real big struggle. Like, this is the ugliest of ugly, but I take the 19.5 points here. Like, if you had to make a bet here in this game, I take the points. Thinking they could hang a little bit.
I think so too. Just end. Too many.
Yeah.
I can't lay 20 in a. I've never once
20 with Lipscomb
tournament game.
Yeah. Conference, and you want to say no? Even though they're better, obviously it's showing here in this line. But god damn, and that's been a little bit border line. Like just when they played a week ago at Lipscomb, it was 18 points.
Yep.
Final score of the book. They have it right. Right here lined up for you. Game like this.
There you go. Central Arkansas plus the points there against Lipscomb. Lean there for CMAC as well. All right, there you have it. There's our game previews. CMAC, it's your turn. The floor is yours. Games we haven't talked about that you're liking here on this Monday slate.
Yeah, we were talking in the back. There's just some of these bad schools that I just haven't played a ton of here today. That I want to look at, like we were saying, Florida A&M. Like Southern to me is better. It's it shows in this line. There's 5s now out there. Florida A&M though been scrappy. They've been a lot better at home. I lean their way here. Wow, there's 5s everywhere now. This has moved just a half point in the last 20 minutes. So that was what I've been staring at that one all day long. And Northwestern State, I don't love this has moved to 3.5, right around there. It's even a bit back. I thought there were a couple 2.5s now. There's one here at Caesars that I see 2.5. A lot of 3s. That game should be close. Both those teams been playing well of late. I think Incarnate Words won 4 in a row. Northwestern State's won their last 3. They've been pretty good at home. And I think this is a senior night for them, right? So I think this is a game to get up, and that's why this is kind of stretched out for them where they've been solid at home. So, and that game, that's another thing. When you have a low total like this, they play low-scoring games. Both these teams a little bit. But Northwestern State, that's why it's like maybe you just go money line here. It would have been great if you could have got it earlier last night or this morning. Probably at like minus 125, 130 when they were just laying a point and a half in that game. So this one's fishy here. How about Houston Christian laying 2.5 over East Texas A&M? You got anything on that? Tell me about it. Is that just so easy? Lay the points here on the road?
It does seem a little strange because I'll tell you what, East Texas A&M, formerly known as
They're
Texas
pretty rough.
A&M Commerce, has been terrible. So why the hell is that only 2.5? But Houston Christian lately had a few trip-up spots
they have.
themselves. So
that's the big issue,
right? Home finale. Do they show anything here? East
Texas. That's my whole thing. So Houston Christian played so well until the last month, and they started even losing at home, losing on the road. I think they're maybe 3-7 the last 10.
Yep.
I have that over here, something like that. It just hasn't been great for them last month. That seems just like a little bit of a layup, just fishy though. That line. I'm taking this. This has moved up, which I thought it might because everyone loves McNeese. Wow, there's even a 13 here, which is great. 12 and a half.
Why people are betting them? Because look, they've kind of gone through the motions lately a little bit. McNeese State, even though they're clearly the best team, 100% in this Southland Conference. There's no doubt about that. But here's the thing with this game. This is a rare national TV game for them. I believe this is.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I get it. And this is my one problem, why I haven't bet them. But I'm taking them here at Stephen F. Austin. Yeah. They're bad at shooting the basketball. They have to keep games low scoring.
That is true.
Score. But McNeese, to start the year, better at home, laying points, and even on the road. In conference play, I believe the last 6, all non-covers. But they haven't. They even dropped one to Nichols. And they have everything wrapped up. You're right. The national TV game, I saw that a little bit. I don't know. 4 or 5 hours ago, whatever. So maybe they do. But I think Stephen F. Austin, everything to, senior night for them, if they're ever going to get up, it's just them scoring as my lone thing. Because I don't know how much I've took them, the Stephen F. Austin team all year long. But I took it, 12.5. There's even a 13 here at Circa. I can grab that. I think that I'm going to grab that. McNeese wins. Nothing to play for. ESPN, blue or not. Stephen F. Austin.
There you go. I agree. It's a lot of points because McNeese previously to tonight, they haven't been the most. They're almost like they're biding their time, waiting for the South Lane tournament to get here.
Exactly. I mean, is this really that big? I get,
They are a talented bunch, obviously.
They're talented.
This is it. There's even some potential NBA talent on this McNeese State team. That's how good they are. And obviously, Will Wade's a very good young coach. I know he got himself into a little hot water there at LSU, which is why he lost his job there. But McNeese State, he's done a great job. Remember VCU, where he started his career, he did a nice job there as well. It's a great coach, and he can recruit, and we're seeing that. And look what he's done here with McNeese. But kind of like they've been going through the motions lately. I do agree with that.
They want to win the tournament and get into the big tournament, see if they can make noise there. That's what they just need to be focused
Northern Colorado continues to be my meal ticket. Even on the road, you can trust them to cover numbers.
They've been very good.
Playing the points against Weber. I like the over in that game as well. I like Montana State at home against Idaho, the Bobcats. I think Portland State puts it to Sacramento State in a revenge spot. Montana certainly was a team I had my eye on backing, but it is a rivalry with Eastern Washington, and it is a little bit higher of a line, but it's Montana or Grizzlies are passing.
Home. I totally agree. Home team. Eastern Washington struggling a ton. And Montana, I think it's for the 1 seed, or it depends on the Colorado game.
They've gotten on ESPN2, Montana.
Yeah, just a huge line. They've been a team, though, that I looked at back, especially they got hot in conference, back them at home. Laying numbers, so I totally agree too. I think you can lay it. Just a down, some growing pains here with Eastern Washington. Used to kind of own Montana. This was always a pretty good rivalry, and they kind of beat up on them.
No doubt. And then on the MEAC and SWAC board, I've got just a few sides. I'm on a few totals. I'm on Alcorn State at a pick'em against Texas Southern. I just think Alcorn State's kind of going up. Texas Southern's kind of struggled. Not the same team. I think Alcorn at home can win that. Bethune-Cookman in the over against Grambling, I like. High total with Delaware State, Morgan State, but there should be a lot of points there. I like Lavelle Moten. He's one of my favorite coaches, certainly in the SWAC MEAC, just coaches, period. What he's done, NC Central's just been consistent. Revenge spot for them against Norfolk State. Home underdog getting 5.5. I thought NC Central is worth a look there. Lean over as well. Over in the Texas Rio Grande Valley, Southeast Louisiana game. Howard, South Carolina State could be a high-scoring one, too. Howard's in that angle, by the way. Howard, where they lost at home to South Carolina State, and now they're in revenge on the road as a dog. It's been a good angle. It says bet Howard, but, man, South Carolina State is just very impressive right now, playing well. So it's not easy to make that bet, taking Howard there. Lamar at home against Nichols. I like that as well. So there you go. That is the SWAC and the MEAC board for me tonight as well. Good stuff, CMAC. Best bets now to wrap things up. What do you like here tonight for your Monday best bet?
I don't really have the best bet tonight. I want to touch on this game here. Rick J. Idaho State, Northern Arizona. To me, look at this game to the over. Idaho State, more of an over team, especially at home. I like them too. It's stretched out a little bit. It's gone 2 points, 5.5, 7.5. Another team at home. But I want to look to back, at least especially in conference, laying points. It's out there. But Northern Arizona, when they've gone on the road, the defense just hasn't been there. Unless you've been Portland State or Sac State, two teams that are super slow and play defense. You know what I mean? But man, other than that, all these other teams on the road, it seems like there will be points, and there will be. So I'll just give you that. My best bet, there's a 142 out there. Northern Arizona, Idaho State, over.
There you go. Northern Arizona, Idaho State, the Lumberjacks, and the Bengals over the total there, 142.5. Here's a crazy oddball thing, and I only realized this recently. I'm sure a lot of people know Mad Dog Russo, right? Christopher Mad Dog Russo. He's a New York sports talk radio legend with Mike Francesa, Mike and the Mad Dog all those years. He's still on Sirius. He's actually on First Take on Wednesdays now with Stephen A. Smith on ESPN. His son is an assistant coach at Northern Arizona. Never knew that, but there you go.
I saw that. I saw that a while ago, though. But yeah.
Yeah, didn't know that until like the last. Whoa, holy shit! I didn't know that. Chris Russo's kid, apparently on the coaching staff for the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks. They've been struggling a bit. We'll see if they can hang in there tonight.
You know where they've been better, man? I had the over with them on Saturday, which it got there but I like them catching the 4 points. They haven't been as good as at home.
Yeah,
they're a team that the last few years in conference play haven't won to back. They just, not that they're awful. Their record was 10-5, but they've been a little bit better and scrappier on the road. That's why now it's 7.5. Maybe they hang around, because the initial, for me in this game was to lay the 5.5 with Idaho State.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, my best bet. I'm going to go to one of those Atlantic Sun quarterfinal games. I'm taking the big number, 19.5 with Central Arkansas. Not by much, but they've stayed inside this number twice, head-to-head with Lipscomb. They got a game under their belt last night. I think that helps them here against Lipscomb tonight. I mean, Lipscomb's the number 1 seed, but, it's about pacing yourself. They don't have to beat this team by 20, and they haven't beaten this team by 20 once this year. I think it's just a few too many points, and I'm going to take the Bears. Central Arkansas, plus 19.5 against Lipscomb. A-Sun quarterfinal, best bet for this Monday. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. Oldie, Kelly McGinnis, T. Moss, Timothy Hake, Rick J., Tone Miggins, Ross Pitts, Canes Nation, GNL Photo, American Citizen, Stephen Agler, Redbeard, CLC, everyone that joined us. We appreciate it very much. We are now
real quick
Monday to Friday at this time.
Yes, Monday to Friday here. I wanted to hit that. Give us a like and hit us in the chat. What games you bet tonight, whatever, if you're looking at lines for tomorrow, because we're going to be on 5 days a week. So hit us up in there. On the Hitting the Vic Books YouTube channel here. Give it a like. And give us a like on our tweets. We really appreciate that. Shout out to everyone that kind of gives us a like or retweet. We're building this channel up. From the beginning, we're rolling. So it means a lot to everyone that does that. I want to give a shout out to everybody that does that. We really, really appreciate it.
No doubt. We sure as hell do. You're right. The support and being able to, like I said, retweet, like the posts of the show on Twitter X definitely helps us out. We appreciate it very much. And that's why we're here for you now, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific for the rest of the college basketball season. For Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll be back with you tomorrow on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific for another edition of the College Basketball Hitting the Books show. Until then, class dismissed.